Hi guys, this is Haley. Today I'm going to show you how to do cleaner makeup look for brown skin. This was very highly requested video, so I'm so excited to show you guys how to do that. I'm here with Raspy and she is my subscriber. And Raspy, can you talk about your struggle when doing your makeup?
Some of my makeup struggles, I've always been confused about how to tackle the under eye dark circles that I have. They're genetic, so there's not much that has helped in terms of sleeping more or just trying to use products or anything else. Every time I kind of try to apply concealer, it ends up creasing and it doesn't last throughout the day. So I wanted to figure out what is the best shade for me and how I should kind of go about tackling that. The other thing that I kind of struggle with is just finding a natural blush color. Things just pull very weirdly on me. Sometimes things will just show up super orange or they'll show up super purple. So that's another thing that I wanted to figure out. The last struggle I end up having is around my lips. So I have a little bit of hyperpigmentation, which is very common for brown skin. So a lot of times when I apply lipstick, it kind of ends up looking like I have a shadow around my lips, or if I apply concealer, it's kind of gone within an hour or two. So I'd love to know how to kind of make that look seamless and look good throughout the day.
So I'm gonna focus on those three things during this makeup tutorial. She says she has combination skin with a bit of dryness during this winter season. So I'm gonna start with skin prep first. First, I'm gonna start with toner pad. This is Abib Collagen pad. This type of toner pad is very easy way to prep your skin. So I'm just gonna do this very gentle to just clean out her face and then gives a little bit hydration. Since she has a combination skin, I'm not gonna put too much of products on her skin, so I'm just gonna keep it very simple. Next, I'm gonna use this essence slash toner. This is Green Tea Ceramide Milk Barrier Essence from Innisfree. This is the one I've been loving lately to just hydrate my skin. It's like milky toner, but it's very hydrating. And it is the most hydrating milky toner I ever used. So I'm just gonna put this really small amount on her cheek area and then a little bit on her forehead. Especially if you have under eye dark circles, this area tends to feel very dry. So make sure to put an extra layer underneath your eyes so that it won't crease when you put any corrector or concealer on top. And doing a little bit of massage like this with your fingers really helps because it's gonna stimulate blood circulation, so it's gonna make your look brighter. And now I'm moving on to moisturizer. For moisturizer, I'm gonna use very lightweight but still very hydrating one. This is from ANUA. This is PDRN Hyaluronic Acid Moisturizing Cream. It's not very heavy. It's more in between moisturizer and gel type of consistency. So it's perfect for combination skin. So first, I'm just gonna spread a little and then always put the cream on your cheek first because that's the area people feel dry the most, and then do a little massage again. So we are moving on to makeup. First step of makeup is of course corrector. She brought this corrector that she used to cover her under eye dark circles. It's Sephora Best Skin Ever Color Corrector in the shade 03. If I swatch the color a little bit back on my hands, you can see it looks more like bright orange color. I'm just gonna try this corrector first to see how it looks on her under eye dark circles. So I just put the corrector that she used on this side. You can see it looks a little bit too light on her under eye dark circles. This is a common mistake when you're choosing corrector. You choose too light shades for your under eye dark circles, so it ends up looking ashy or a little bit gray. So it's very important to match the darkness of the corrector to your under eye dark circles. So instead of using a little bit light shade on her skin, I'm gonna mix this to corrector color. So this is the Bisque color and this is dark Bisque color. So I'm gonna mix these two colors to create the perfect brightness or perfect shade for her under eye dark circles. First, I'm gonna scoop a little bit of this Bisque color. This is more like a light to medium peach slash pink color. And next, I'm gonna mix this Bisque color with this dark Bisque color, and this is darker version of this, and I'm just gonna scoop a little. We have these two color, and I'm just gonna mix together to create the shade in the middle. This is the shade that I mixed together, and if you compare the color that she used, this looks much lighter, more like orangish, whereas this one is more muted. So I'm just gonna see how this color looks her under our dark circles. And then when putting corrector, always focus on like darker spot area instead of going like all over your eye area to just correct the exact area you want to correct. And then I'm doing like tapping motion to make sure that I place the product only this side, like this part, the darkest part of her face. And then with a clean brush, I'm just gonna like blend together to make it look more natural. If you don't have any brush, you can just use your fingers, just tapping to blend together. If you want more coverage, you can put a little bit more on the darkest area. And then do not try to go like right underneath your lash lines. It's gonna make your eyes like smaller, remove all that natural shadow on your eyes, just focusing on like this area, like this, because that's where you actually need some color. So I finished putting this mix corrector color on this side of her face, and you can see a very big difference. First, this light orange color looks pretty obvious on her skin. You can see there's a little bit of orangeness. Also, this light shade looks a little bit ashy or grayish on her, like under her dark circles, whereas this side, you can see this neutral pink color looks very natural. So I'm gonna remove the corrector this side and then put this mix corrector again to match. So I put mix corrector on this side as well, and you can see it looks so much better. And now we are ready to put concealer on. She brought the concealer she used. This is HAUS concealer in the shade 21. This is light medium neutral. So I'm gonna try this concealer first to see if it's her match, and if it's not, we are gonna mix this color with other shades or even color correctors to find her perfect match. And first, to find her undertones, I'm gonna see more color on her neck and then body area, and I can see a little bit more olive, like green hue. There's a little bit of gray cast on her face as well, so I can assume that she have olive undertones. So I'm gonna try this concealer shade first to see how it looks on her like cheek area and more on the like perimeter of her face to see if it's her match. And if you have concealer and still don't know if it's your perfect undertone match, you can put a little bit amount more on your neck to see if it blends into your skin well. So when I put this concealer, I can clearly see that it looks a little bit pink on her skin. And when you see the color on this side, when I blend a little, I can see her skin looks more olive than this concealer shade. And also the shade looks a little bit light on her skin, so I'm gonna mix this concealer shade with a little bit more darker color. This one is also from HAUS in the shade 41. It is medium deep neutral. And to neutralize a little bit of like oranginess in both color, I'm gonna add this green corrector. And this is gonna neutralize that oranginess in both color and make a perfect shade for olive tones. And then I'm just gonna mix all together. This is original concealer shade, and this is the shade I created. You can see it looks more olive, but it looks a little bit too dark for her skin, so I'm gonna add a tiny bit of this and to add more olive tone in it. And if I swatch the color, then if I swatch a little on her neck area, this is the original HAUS neutral color, and this is a customized color that matches her complexion. And I try to focus on like more center of her face area, not perimeter of her face, otherwise it's gonna get too dark. And you can see it looks much more natural and blends into her skin. So I'm gonna use this concealer shade to cover under eye circles or anywhere she needs coverage. So now we are gonna put this customized concealer shade on her under eye area. And as I did for corrector, I'm tapping the product to make sure that I get enough coverage for her under eyes. If I just like blending all over, it's not gonna get the coverage you want. So you wanna focus on the area you want that full coverage. And then with some leftover, you can just blend the edges to look more natural and smooth. So this is after concealer on this side. If you compare before and after, it looks covered perfectly. The corrector shade disappeared with just very light coverage is concealer. This is how to cover your under dark circles. If you have very deep under dark circles, first you have to find the perfect shade that matches your under dark circles, especially brightness. Most people tend to use too light shades, so it ends up being too ashy. Second, you use a shade that matches with your skin. If it's too light especially, it's gonna end up being grayish again. So it's very important to to find the perfect match color for your skin. So this is after concealer for her under eye dark circles. You can see it looks very natural but covered perfectly. So if we're moving on to eye makeup, I'm gonna make a clean base for her crease, like eyelids, because her under eyes and her lids are pretty darker than the rest of her face, and to get a exact color you want from eyeshadow, it's very important to neutralize and conceal everything like you did for under eye dark circles. So I'm gonna do the same for her eyelids. First, I'm gonna put the mix corrector that I use for her under eye dark circles. If you put too much of product, it's gonna crease very easily. So it's very important to apply very thin layer. Then after corrector, you can see it looks much more neutralized. And then with a clean brush or fingers, you can just blend all together. And this is after corrector. So now I'm gonna put a little bit of translucent powder to prevent creasing. It is almost impossible to not your under eye area or eyelids area not crease at all, because it's very just natural thing. You blink your eyes, you smile, so your face just keep moving with just fine lines. But we are here to create more natural looks, so I'm not gonna put like very heavy amount of powder. Little product will make it much more natural and less creasing. So I'm just gonna put really light powder on her lids. This is Hourglass powder, and this is very lightweight, just translucent everyday powder you can use to like mattify the area. And now moving on to eyeshadow, because she has olive undertones. I found that this neutral palette will perfect for her skin. This is Baked Up by Mario, the eyeshadow palette, the neutrals, and this is the one I actually use a lot for my everyday makeup look. So I'm gonna put this mid-tone brown color. This is like neutral brown that goes really perfect for olive or neutral undertones. And then using this very tiny eyeshadow brush, I'm just gonna put a really tiny wing eyeliner, because she already have big eyes, so I don't think it's necessary to do like full wing eyeliner or anything that's like very obvious lines, but more like very natural, like smudge look or more natural look. You see her eye shape is more like a downward like this, so instead of like following all the lines, I'm trying to draw a straight line to make sure her eyes are more balanced. And then you see the lines here, and you're just gonna like connect together to look more natural. And this is after eyeliner. You can see this side looks more like balanced, whereas this side looks more like a downward. So this is how you draw the eyeliner when you have like downward shape of your eye. And then taking a bit of translucent powder, you're gonna mattify here so that it won't smudge. So this is after doing eyeliner, very small, tiny wing eyeliner, and you can see the difference. So we're gonna do the same on this side. So we finished doing the eyeliner on this side as well, and you can see it looks very natural. I just put really small, only outer part, not the whole lines, so that we can keep it very natural. Since she has a very big eyes, if I put too much eyeliner or too thick liner, it's gonna look unnatural. So next we're gonna move on to mascara. This is Tower 28 mascara, and as you can see, the applicator is like plastic comb. It's gonna make your lashes really clean but still giving that natural length or volume. So I'm just gonna put this mascara on her lashes. So I just put the mascara on her upper lashes. I'm not gonna put anything on her lower lashes because she already has that downward shape, and if I put the mascara or any like darker shade along her lower lash line, it's gonna accentuate her more like a downward shape, but we are here to balance her eye shape. So I'm not gonna put anything on here. This is an eye makeup look. For contour, I'm gonna use this Underpainting palette from m.ph. There are 5 shades you can correct, conceal, and contour and bronzer. And I think for her face, I feel like this shade could be a match, but because we are gonna create very natural look, I'm not gonna go too hard for contour or bronzer, so we're gonna create very natural shadow and warmth to her face. So I always put the product on the back of my hands. When I see her face shape, this for forehead is narrower than the other part of her face, and the cheekbone area looks wider. So we are gonna focus more on underneath her cheeks like this to create more like a softer look instead of going to like harsh lines. So I'm just adding like gently like warmth to her face, and then with some leftover, I can just connect a little bit on her forehead area and doing like this, and adding a little bit here. Okay. Gentle tapping and focus on this highest cheekbone of her face to make it look softer. And with the left product, I'm just gently connecting all of her face. So I finished contouring / bronzer, and you can see her feature looks a little bit sculpted, but not too much, and it still looks very natural. So before moving on to blush, I'm just gonna do spot concealing to create more clean base before putting any blush. So I'm just using my everyday go-to palette from Jeongsaenmol. This is Artist Concealer Palette, and it's just perfect for spot concealing. And I'm gonna mix some of the shades to create the perfect shade for her skin. So it might be this one and a little bit of this, and then like there's a little like spots here, so I'm just gonna do spot concealer. And honestly, she doesn't have much to cover, so I'm just focusing more on the red like area. And whenever I do spot conceal, I don't like blend right away, and with a clean brush I'm just gonna blend the edges. And after blending all together, I usually put the translucent powder right away. I just gently tapping the brush like this, not like buffing away, to keep that high coverage concealer. And okay, blend the edges. Translucent powder right after. Now I'm going to moving on to blush. For blush, she says she struggled to find the perfect blush color for her olive skin because it always turned too orange or too red. And I found that this type of neutral mauve or a little bit of purple shade will look great on olive skin. And it's not too purple, like very vivid purple color, so it's gonna turn very natural on olive skin, especially if you have more medium tan skin. This is Rare Beauty Liquid Blush in Encourage. And if I swatch a little bit of color on the back of my hands, you can see it looks very muted, mauve, pink color. So I think this is gonna look great on her olive skin. So I'm gonna put really tiny amount of this blush because it has a really high coverage. And then because she has a wider cheekbone area, I'm just gonna focus more on this side, more like a center. And as you can see, the color looks like just pink color on her skin, even though it looks pretty mauve color on the back of my hands. And this is why this type of mauve blush color looks really great on olive skin. And this is the after mauve blush look, and it looks very beautiful on her skin. And I think I kind of add more brighter color to cover this darkest line underneath her eyes, because when you put the blush color, it's gonna be very obvious. So we are gonna brighten this area with the high coverage concealer and a little bit lighter shade. And I'm gonna take this concealer palette from Jeongsaenmol again and take a little bit of like lighter color. And if you look straight, you're gonna see the darkest line here, and you're just gonna draw a really tiny line along the lines. And then do not try to go all the way to your eyes lines. It's gonna make your face look wider. You're focusing on this side, only like center area. Then I'm gonna do the same here. You can see there's a little bit of darkest line here, a little bit of halo, so a little bit here. And then after doing that with a clean brush, this is a little bit bigger than the brush that I use, so I'm just gonna like blend the edges to look more softer and natural. And then I'm gonna do this side. So this is after drawing a really tiny line to like create that deepest shadow line on here. As you can see, it looks so much brighter and more like clean. So this is how to cover eye bags or anything like deepest line underneath your eyes. Now we are moving on to lips, and she says she has hyperpigmentation around her lips and don't know how to overlining. So we are gonna focus on that. And first we are gonna put some corrector that I use for her under eyes. The reason why I put the corrector is because her lip area is darker than the rest of her face, and it looks a little bit more like a brown. So I think if I put corrector around her lips, it's gonna create more like a clean base. And I'm just gonna put the corrector around her lips area mostly to just neutralize that darkness. And then I'm gonna put concealer. I mix 3 shades to create her perfect shade. And because I'm going to do a little bit of lip liner, I'm just gonna apply a little bit over her natural lip lines. To over lip line her lips, first I'm gonna use this pink brown lip liner. This is very natural color to do over lining, but I'm gonna use it as a base before putting like actual like brown lip liner. And then this is NYX lip pencil in nude truffle. So I'm just gonna follow her natural lip line using this lip pencil. And also I'm gonna put a little bit of color like inner part of her lips to create like a clean base. Don't forget this part, like inner part of her lips. lips. If you skip that, it's not gonna look very natural. So this is after lip liner. This side you can see it looks more like muted and looks very even. I'm gonna put a little bit of high coverage nude lipstick. This is Makeup by Mario lipstick in the shade Sam. A little bit of pinkish nude color. And I'm going to apply mostly on the center of her lips and then a little bit on her upper lip as well. So her lips are more like a one color. It got much more like even. So now I'm going to actually contour her lips. I'm gonna use this cream contour stick. This is from Essence. This is Contouring Duo Stick, and I found that this shade, like very bronzy slash contoury color, looks great when contouring lip lines. So I'm gonna use this cream bronzer first to create a natural shadow on her lips, and I'm just following the natural lip lines like this and then smudging a little. And then I'm not going to like above her natural lip lines. I'm just focusing on following her lines a little bit and then smudge a little bit more. And then for bottom lips, do not try to go over to here. It's gonna look unnatural. So it's important to keep the lines closer to your natural lip lines for bottom lips especially. This is before and after. You can see this line looks much more like contoured and sculpted. And if you find that you have too over lip lines, you can clean up a little here with a concealer. And to add that darker contour or brownish color, I'm gonna use this brown lip pencil. And I'm just following her natural lip lines a little bit and put a very tiny line. And using the same brush, I'm just gonna blend all together. And this is after contouring her lips. You can see it looks very natural and much more sculpted than before. And now I'm going to add this lip gloss from Rode. This is more like a brownish pink color. And I found that this shade will match with her look. And I'm just gonna put a little bit, mostly center of her lips. So this is the complete look. It looks very natural, fresh, and this is the type of look that I would go for everyday makeup, and it looks very natural. She has olive undertone, and obviously it is so hard to find the perfect foundation, concealer, blush, and everything, but I think I put the best color for her skin. I put like mauve color for her blush and more like a brownish pink color for her lips, and I mix a lot of like shade to create her perfect match. And also I did tiny line concealer technique to cover like darkest line underneath her eyes, and it looks like brighter and much more awake.
I really like how this looks like super natural, both in person and in the camera as well. And I think I found like much better matches for my undertone. The blush is really nice. I think I really appreciated your tips about the placement as well, because I think I tend to follow like what you see online, which is always like, you know, like lift it up, but this suits my face a lot more. Usually when I do my under eye like concealing, I end up having like these two lines where concealer sits in, but I'm not able to see that right now. It looks very fresh and like very glowy, so I really like it. This is amazing. Thank you.
I hope you guys find it very helpful, and please let me know if you have any questions about doing clean girl makeup or any type of makeup for brown skin or any type of like skin. I would love to know about that. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.